Going live, going live, going live. Hey, welcome Saturday. We're going to cook us a savory bean spinach soup. Right, so my friend Gina, she suggested this because nobody else here is going to suggest anything. So I would love to have your suggestions for what I'm cooking here, which is hardcore forks over knives types of meals. So today I kind of got started before because it took a long time to cook all the ingredients that are in here. So I'm going to show you what I've made. I have cooked some white beans. I got dry beans, and I cooked them with the help of my wife. So you're probably going to need to cook those about an hour and a half, 2 hours at least. You soak the beans overnight. I don't have any dry beans left, but you soak them overnight, and then you cook them. I bring them to a boil, then I put my setting to 3, which is pretty low. It's supposed to be a little bit of a boil there. There's also some rice here. I didn't have 2 different kinds of rice for half a cup. So I have some really dark rice. Can you see that in there? Yeah, dark rice, black rice. I've got some brown rice, some really brown rice. I cooked those for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. I also took some onions, diced, and some minced garlic. I cooked them the way that I cooked them, without oil for the show. When I do the show, I don't use any extra salt. I don't use any extra oil. I don't use any extra flour. Sometimes I use noodles. I made my own tomato puree. What did I do there? I just took 3 tomatoes and I used an immersion blender. I threw a little bit of spice in there with that. So having said that, I'm going to read you the recipe that I got. Gina got it for me. She got it from, I believe, Eating Well. Eating Well is a website. So this is a savory bean spinach soup. I'm just going to read you the ingredients. 3 14-ounce cans vegetable broth. I'm using this because this is what I got. 42 ounces, I think, is what it is. 1 can tomato puree. I'm not using a can. It's supposed to be 15 ounces. That's a little bit more. 1 can white or green great northern beans. I did it from dry, right? So we talk about the hierarchy of health sometimes. The hierarchy of health is dry beans are probably the best that you can get, at least from the grocery store, unless you can get your own beans. Half cup converted white rice. I showed you I got the black rice and the brown rice. We're going to put all of that in there. We got 1 cup finely chopped onions. That was about right. 2 cloves garlic minced. That's what we used. 1 teaspoon dried basil. I will put the basil in there. Half teaspoon salt. I'm not adding the salt. 1/2 teaspoon ground black pepper. Probably put more than 1 teaspoon because I love pepper. I got a little guy over here you can't see behind the camera. He's going to help me out today. We got 8 cups coarse chopped fresh spinach or kale leaves. I've got some spinach. I'm probably going to chop off the stems. I've started putting those in a bowl. I've also got some baby kale. I'm not going to chop it. I've got the baby stuff, so I'm going to use it. Finely shredded Parmesan cheese. I'm not adding cheese to this. You can. So step 1, in 3.5 or 4-quart slow cooker, combine broth, tomato puree, beans, rice, onion, garlic, basil, salt, and pepper. Cover and cook on low heat setting for 5 to 7 hours. I'm not using a slow cooker. I've already cooked stuff pretty much. So we're probably going to bring this to a boil, let it go for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to throw in step 2, cover, cook on low heat. We already read that. I'm not doing that. Step 3, stir spinach into stew. Serve with Parmesan cheese. So we're going to probably put all of our ingredients together. We're going to bring it to a boil and let it go for about 5 minutes. We're going to talk about hierarchy of health. I've talked to you a little bit about it. I've used canned beans in the past. It is convenient. In the past, cans came with a BPA plastic liner. They still have a liner in there. Probably doesn't have BPA, but it does maybe have something in there that you don't want. Also, a standard can of beans probably has too much salt. You can get the low sodium. That would be helpful. So we're going to just kind of incorporate everything into our pan. I'm taking the pan that I made the beans in. I'm going to just add the other ingredients, right? So I've got my onions. I washed my hands. Onions and garlic in there. And Christian is screaming in the... Hey, stop. For some reason, StreamYard... Okay, Christian, that's good. Thank you, buddy. So professional. Look at this cookie. So professional. I need more. I am your professional cook here. I've got rice. I've got more rice. What else? We're going to put some tomato puree in there. This is probably more than the soup calls for. And we're going to put, it's supposed to be 42 ounces. We might put a little less because we got tomato puree, which is less, more tomato puree than we were supposed to use. I'm going to just dump in the rest of this. This was 32 ounces. I used a little bit of it in a recipe before. I'm going to put about, not a third. I'm going to just kind of eyeball this to see what looks like soup consistency. We're going to kind of just stir that around. I'm going to put a tiny bit more of this vegetable broth in there. I think that looks good. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. I'm going to bring that to a boil. I need my pan lid. I like to put just a little bit of a crack. I'm going to turn this front burner up to 9 on mine. And then basically, I'm just going to cut off some stalks here. We're going to talk a little bit about hierarchy of health. I constantly talk about the hierarchy of health. Plants are the highest form of food, in my opinion. I'm going to just cut off the stems here. I've already done that to some of these, so some of this stuff I'm just throwing into the bowl because I've already gone through that. This is more about, got a lot of feedback. I got to get away from the smaller camera, I think. No, we're not using that one, buddy. Thank you. Yes. So I am pretty much vegan. I do cheat at times. My wife was an amazing pastry chef. I do eat a piece of cake every now and again. So don't let me fool you into thinking that I always eat this way. But I would say that I eat this way at least 80% of the time, maybe higher. I sometimes eat out at restaurants. I know that they use oil in their recipes, so I am not always oil-free. But I do, when I cook for myself, cook without oil. And what I'm going to suggest to you is maybe you could do a little bit of that too for yourself, because I would say that heart disease is still the #1 killer in America. There's also many things that I believe and follow that suggest a plant-based diet is probably the safest for the long haul if you want to stay as healthy as you can for as long as you can. We're going to go back over here and look and see if our pan is boiling yet. Nope, not yet. Hey, we got a little bit of feedback. Christian doesn't like it. I yell at it and say stop. He's following suit. So I'm basically just getting a little bit of the stems off of all of these leaves. We're going to throw all these leaves into the soup toward the end of our cooking time. Like I said, I've pre-cooked the beans and the rice. So we're not going to cook it as long as for the recipe. We're going to boil, bring it to a boil. Then we are going to go for about 5 minutes at a simmer. I think I got all the rest of the stems. I'm going to watch as we put this in here. I'm going to dump this entire thing into the soup when we're done. Baby kale, baby spinach. The spinach definitely needs to go. It's starting to get to its last legs. I use stuff that maybe you would throw in the trash, but I will not until it is really bad. So you decide for yourself what you're going to do with your vegetables. And I love that feedback. That's awesome. So basically, we're going to be watching for this to come to a boil. Still hasn't come to a boil yet. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to cook it for about 5 minutes. We're going to keep talking. I like to keep these shows about 20 minutes to 30 minutes if I can. Love this feedback. Let's see if I get away from this camera. No, still got some feedback. So anyway, I'm just cutting off the stems off of the greens that I'm going to put into this soup. If anybody wants a copy of this original recipe, just reach out to me. Put it in the comments. Would love to hear from you guys. I would also love to cook with somebody who is a better cook than me. Maybe you, if you have a recipe, I am going to do it without oil, without salt, without flour, highly processed foods, because that is the purpose of this show, in my opinion, is showing you some maybe side dishes for yourself. Maybe this is going to be the main meal, but putting some more vegetables into your diet, some more plants into your diet, making them as tasty as possible, trying to get away from oils all the time for every aspect of your cooking. If I can get you to do that at least every once in a while, I will feel that I have accomplished what I have set out to do. So we're gonna also, if you're on the Facebook page, I would show you what this looks like before I eat it. I'll take a picture of it and I will tell you my thoughts on it. That one's starting to get a little bit mangy. We're gonna cut off the part that doesn't look great. And what I would suggest is if you could show me a recipe that you think is amazing, that maybe is like a cultural dish from where your ancestors are from. I love to explore new cuisines. I love Italian food. I love Mexican food. I love most Asian food that I have tried. In my older age, I have gotten to the place where I can't handle as much heat as I could when I was younger, but I will still try stuff with some heat. So if it's got a little bit of heat to it, even moderate heat to it, I will try it the way it is. If it is a little bit too hot for me, I may change that up a little bit, right? So I would suggest that the more you cook, the more you learn what the spices and stuff that you like are, and that is helpful. So having said that, let's see if we're at a boil here. No, still not at a boil. So sometimes the more volume you have in your pot, the longer it takes to come to a boil. So we're just trying to get all these flavors kind of incorporated. We've already cooked the rice. We've already cooked the beans. So the big thing is just trying to get all the flavors combined. That's why I think we need to bring it to a boil. We're going to cook it for about 5 minutes. Once again, this is kind of an experimentation. This is me getting better at cooking by failing. And your job is to join me and cook along. Can you do that? Please. Please, honey, please. So we're going to throw all these leaves into the soup once we're done, because otherwise the spinach, some of the spinach may still get thrown away. Woo! Feedback. Because it is not in prime. A rabbit might eat it, but most humans probably would not. Woo! Stop! Christian says stop. All right, I think that right there is what we're going to throw into the soup So a bunch of spinach and kale leaves. Once again, like I said, I'm going to get this to a boil. I'm going to cook it for about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to throw the leaves in, let those wilt, and then I'm going to turn it off. Then I'm going to plate it, and then we're going to see what it tastes like. I'll probably save a couple leaves out just for putting it on there, making it look kind of cool when I take a picture of the bowl. We're going to go for about 20 minutes. We're going to talk. What is it that you guys want to hear about? What kind of recipes would you like to see on this channel? I would love to hear from you what it is you would like to see from this channel, right? So that can direct how we go here. Once again, if you're telling me to cook all carnivore or something like that, that's probably not what's going to happen on the show. This is me trying to get better and staying as healthy as I can so that I can see these crazy guys grow up and maybe have kids of their own and stay as functional as I can. So I believe that nutrition is kind of the first step, the first pillar of, I don't know how many pillars. You also need exercise. I think that's very important. I need to get better at the exercise portion of it. I do follow Peter Attia. Some of his things I don't agree with. Maybe the nutrition, he is a little bit different than me, but for the most part, I think that he's very wise. There's some of the people that I look up to is Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Furman. I don't know his first name. If you've ever seen Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead, he was the doctor that kind of directed the juicing of the Australian man who did the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. There's a lot of other doctors. Jack LaLanne, that guy was amazing. My mom used to watch him when I was a kid, and he was a juicer, right? So I think that juicing has its benefits. We're eating whole foods here, though. So we're going to go ahead and turn this down. I use gas. I told you that. We're going to put that on 3. We're going to put the timer on for about 5 minutes. Let's go 3. We're going to start. Once that goes for about 3 minutes, I'm going to throw the spinach and kale in there. I'm going to let that wilt a little bit. Then it's done. Then I'm going to plate it. If you're on Facebook, you're going to see pictures of the post-production in a bowl just before I eat it. And here's what I want from you. I want you to have a great Saturday. I want you to put a suggestion in the comments about what I should cook next Saturday. And you guys have a great one. Go to Facebook if you want to see post-production pictures of the dish. You guys have a great Saturday. Thank you and goodbye.